Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the learner-centered principles. So first let us define learner-centered principles. So what is learner-centered principles? So they are educational practices that place the learner at the center of the learning process. Learner-centered principles prioritize the needs and the interests of the learners and recognize their diverse learning styles, backgrounds, and abilities. The goal of learner-centered principles is to create a supportive and inclusive learning environment where learners can achieve their full potential. So, let us proceed now.
Let's proceed to the cognitive and metacognitive factors. So number one is the nature of learning process. It is functional when it is an intentional process of constructing interpretation through information and experience. So for example, a child learns how to clap hands by seeing someone else do it. So number two is the goals of learning process. Learners can make a meaningful, coherent representations of knowledge if it is guided over time. So, for example, a student wants to make her grade from D to A. And because of its willingness, the teacher helped the student to reach that goal. But they make study from Saturdays and Sundays every week repeatedly. And because of the series of steps over time, when the grading is shown, the student's grade is excellent. So let's proceed to number three. It is the construction of knowledge. Learner can link new information with existing knowledge in a meaningful ways. Teachers can assist learners by effective strategies. So for example, the students wants to learn new dance and she observe, participate, and execute the proper positions and applied it. So an example for this is when you are going to school but you realize that the clouds are in nimbus phase. So you bring umbrella so that in case of rain, you are protected. So let's proceed to thinking about thinking. So it is learners reflect on how they think and learn and know what to do if a problem occurs. They can also generate methods to reach their goals. So for example, when a student is learning and solving a math problem, so he or she find strategies to create new method to find solutions and answers on it. Learning is influenced by environmental factors. Teachers play a significant interactive role in both learner and its environment. They also motivate students in their learning and ways of thinking. So we have an example. So the students are conducting and designing experiments with a scientific method and inquiry. It helps the science students to think critically about assumptions of knowledge that are pervasive in society.
Motivational and affective factors. Learners learn through motivations. When they are motivated, it fuels their mind, their curiosity, their insightful thinking, and creativity, so they learn and participate better. They do the effort on learning as it is needed in acquiring complex knowledge, and those motivations to learn is influenced by their emotions. Positive emotions have good impact in their learnings and performances, while negative emotions have bad impact. Students who go to school happy, well, they are. An example of this is in a physical education subject, some students may not be good at performing physical activities. But if you apply this principle and you created positive emotions in a classroom, the learners would still be having motivations to learn and participate in class, because fear and anxiety are not present that would detract them from motivation.
Developmental and social factors. Developmental influences on learning. This statement basically means the development of an individual influences how they learn. First example, we teacher gives instruction, guidance, monitors and corrects and intervenes when necessary. We uses our knowledge to lead students and gradually pull away to let them finish the task on their own. Second example, we teacher can give encourage learning through mentoring by encouraging peer work. By placing a weaker student with one more able, the one more able student will expose the weaker student to a higher level of reasoning. Social influences on learning. Social influences on learning is creating a language, environment, and an experience. Environment which stimulate the mind to grow, and by systematically rewarding a child for learning. For example, a student may alter his or her behavior to match of other students in a class. The majority held opinions of a group of friends are likely to inform the views of new members to the social group. Furthermore, we are influenced by the requests of people who are seen as holding positions of authority.
So now let's talk about the individual differences. Individuals are born with and develop their own capabilities and talents, depending on their prior knowledge and genetics. Learners have a variety of learning tactics, approaches, and capacities. So, um, this statement says that individuals are born with capabilities and talents, and that refers to the idea that each person has a unique strengths, weaknesses, and tendencies that influence how they learn and develop skills. While genetics can play a role in determining some aspects of an individual abilities, environmental factors such as prior knowledge, experiences, and upbringing also contribute to their learning capacities. So, for example, suppose you're a teacher teaching a science class and you want to explain the concept of photosynthesis to the students. You as a teacher recognizes that some students may be visual learners who prefer to learn through images and diagrams, while others may be auditory learners who learn best through lectures and discussions. To accommodate these differences, you as a teacher will use different various teaching methods that appeal to different learning styles. For instance, you may use diagrams and pictures to illustrate the process of photosynthesis for visual learners, while also providing verbal explanations for auditory learners. This approach ensures that all learners may have access to the same information, but in a way that is more suitable to their individual learning preferences. Next, language and cultural background are the other factors that can impact learners in the classroom. Learners who speak a different language or come from a different cultural background may have difficulty understanding the language of instruction or relating to the material in the same way as their peers. This can affect how they engage with the material and how much support they may need. Learners also differ in motivation. Some learners may be highly motivated and enthusiastic about learning, while others may be less interested or struggle to stay engaged. This difference can affect how much effort learners put into their studies and how much progress they make. So here's an example. For example, you're a teacher and you're teaching a social studies class on the topic of World War II. The class has a diverse group of learners, including students from different cultural and language backgrounds, students with different levels of prior knowledge about the subject, and students with different learning styles. To accommodate these differences, you will use a variety of teaching methods that appeal to different learning styles. As I said earlier, you can use visual aids to engage visual learners, and you can also add verbal explanation for auditory learners. It is also important for you to recognize the importance of motivation in learning. To keep the students motivated, the teacher may provide positive reinforcement such as praising students for their efforts and achievements and creating a supportive and inclusive learning environment where all students feel valued and respected. Then, next, setting high and challenging standards is also essential in the learning process because it creates a sense of motivation and drive for learners to achieve their goals. When learners are given challenging goals, they are more likely to put in extra effort and strive to achieve their full potential. For example, you as a teacher, and your learning objective for them is to solve complex algebraic equations. So you set a high challenging standard by providing a set of equations that are difficult to solve but achievable with effort and focus. You will also explain that this lesson is essential for them to understand more advanced math concepts. During the lesson, you use diagnostic assessment to identify the student's strengths and weaknesses in solving algebraic equations. For instance, you may ask the students to solve a set of simpler equations before moving to the more complex ones. This allows you to assess each student's level of understanding and identify areas that need more attention. At the end of the lesson, you use outcome assessment to measure the extent to which students have achieved the intended learning outcomes. For instance, you may provide a set of challenging equations and ask students to solve them independently. This allows the teacher to measure how well each student has mastered the lesson's objectives and where they need more support.